there. So today I'd like to tell you a little bit more about this beautiful oracle deck, the Rooted Woman Oracle, which is published by Hay House. And what I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about three of my favourite cards from this deck. They're all my favourite cards in a sense, but I've chosen one from each of the three suits which form this deck, just to give you a flavour of what might be available to you from these cards. So there are three suits, as I mentioned, in the deck. It's a 53 card deck. There is a place suit, a journey suit, and an allies suit. And these three suits represent three quite different forms of guidance and inspiration as we walk the path of the heroine's journey through our lives. And I see the heroine's journey as one which plants us firmly back in the wider world where we belong, rooted and grounded in it. So let's talk about a place card first. And the place cards in this deck are based on the idea from our native traditions, European traditions, and particularly Celtic traditions, that they're anchored in the land, and the land is our greatest teacher. So for our ancestors, the sacred wasn't somewhere else up there, it was here where our feet are planted. And so the cards in the place suit of this deck represent the archetypal qualities of different landscapes that are found throughout Europe, and which to me consequently reflect the tasks, the challenges and the opportunities which we might find along the path of our life. So the card that I've chosen to represent the place suit is River. And the River card is subtitled Flow. And this is a card that's very close to my heart because I live right next to a beautiful river, the River Eden, here in Cumbria in the north of England. And the old stories tell us that rivers and springs have their origin in the other world. And so they carry with them the life-giving nourishment and the wisdom of the other world. And in European myth and folklore, rivers are very, very closely associated with divine women who are present in the water's flow. So when I think of a river, if you look at it on a map, it might look as if its path is fixed, it goes in a particular direction, but really the truth is that they're very dynamic beings. A river's course will shift and flex during the course of its long lifetime, and of course water will swell up and diminish from day to day. Sometimes a river will rise up and break free of its banks, casting off all that restrains its flow. So it's the ultimate in flexibility, but of course you mustn't underestimate its strength, because when rock meets water, it really is always the rock that gives way. So to me, a river represents the flow of all of our longings, the flow of inspiration that propels us through life. She knows exactly where she's headed from the very beginning, and she's always on her way home back to the sea. So the river to me always leads you home, if only you can bring yourself to trust the flow of life as the river carries you onwards. So to me, this card invites us to trust that flow of life, not to resist it, and to believe that the course you're taking, even though it winds around and around, and sometimes it will turn back on itself, will eventually lead you home. So in the Allies suit, let's look at that next. And the cards in the Allies section feature women from European myth and folklore who might sometimes be goddesses, or who might simply be otherworldly women who appear in the stories. And these women represent archetypal roles and qualities which will be helpful to us along the path of our journey. So when these cards show up for you, you might ask yourself questions about the kind of guidance that you're looking for, the kind of guidance that will be useful to you at a particular stage of your journey. So the card that I've chosen for this is the Selkie card, and the Selkie card is subtitled Soul Skin. And I've written about Selkies a lot in my time. It's one of my favourite folk tales about the story of a woman whose seal skin has been stolen by the man who becomes her husband, and consequently she is trapped in a human form and can't return to the sea. And I think that card tells us a lot about all of the ways in which we might be taken out of our natural element and trapped in places where perhaps we can't find ways fully to belong. And what she has lost in losing her seal skin is a sense of who she really is, her authentic and her wild self. So the Selkie, in a sense, represents yearning for a lost part of ourselves, a part that we perhaps sometimes didn't even know that we had, or a part that we know we had a long time ago but can't find anymore. And I think so many of us lose our skins, and often we lose them young. And the consequences of that separation from what really nourishes us is profound. So the Selkie really encourages you to remember and to go looking for your lost skin, your unique sense of self, your unique creative power as a woman. How can you begin to grow a new skin? A skin that represents the heart of who you are now and allows you to accept and to fully embody the wild part of your nature, the wild woman within. And finally, the journey card. And the journey cards represent different kinds or shapes or ways of journeying, as well as different stages along the heroine's journey. And the card that I'd like to talk about is not a comfortable card, but it's a card that's in there, and it's a card that's called the Wasteland. And I wrote about the Wasteland in If Women Are As Rooted, and my journey out of it into a wholehearted sense of belonging to the land and the wider world. So really the wasteland is the place where dreams go to die, I guess. It's an arid, rootless place. The ground is infertile. In it we are cut off from the source of life. So we inhabit the wasteland when we occupy ourselves with jobs that bring safety and security but don't bring us meaning or joy. The wasteland is the place where we have allowed ourselves to become what we were never meant to be. And living in the wasteland also means that we are out of touch with the seasons and the cycles of the year. We're not rooted, we're not grounded, we're not fully embodied. And when we lose our relationship with the natural world and the other than humans that inhabit it, then in a sense we lose ourselves too. And so this card invites you to do some of the difficult work that we all have to do to really discern all of the ways in which you might still have one foot in the wasteland today. And then it invites you to wonder how you can escape it and what might need to change in your life today.